Hello everybody, and thanks for joining me today. I am Jim Coppinger, one of the principals here at ZenTech Consultants, and I want to welcome you guys to another one of our presentations on BricsCAD for construction and why we think it's so important that every construction company out there, from the smallest to the largest, should have at least one, if not a couple of seats of BricsCAD in-house to make your life a little bit easier. So today I'm going to talk about what is probably the most terrifying aspect of using a CAD system. I want to talk to you guys about using scanned point cloud data in the construction space, right? And what you can kind of do with it. Now look, I fully understand, even for CAD guys with years of experience, manipulating and working with point cloud data, because it's so immense, it's so slow, it's so temperamental, and you really have to know what you're doing. I get it. And I'm not going to tell you guys that this is something you should be working in. Absolutely not. But what's great about doing this with BricsCAD is that we can easily import all of our point cloud data, geosync to the right locations, and it is a great visual reference for us in the construction space. Now, traditionally, right, with the big name, very expensive, high-end CAD systems that you guys are probably working with or have seen, dealing with this kind of stuff is never easy. When you go out and you do a scan or of your existing site or whatever it may be, the file sizes are immense. There's just so much data. It bogs down your system. There's no way you can work with it. And BricsCAD has gone to extreme lengths to make the point cloud data very simple to view, manipulate. It automatically strips down a lot of the data when you bring it in. Right? And you can even reduce that further. So let me just kind of, instead of talking about it, let me show you what I mean. So what I've done here is I have what was basically just a Matterport scan of a house that we scan here at ZenTech. And I just imported the point cloud. All right? And the great thing is I can just go into BricsCAD, right? And you see there's a full point cloud tab. Now I do not expect or recommend that you guys learn all these tools and features. A lot of these are editing focused, which you're not going to want to do. But it's very easy for me to just bring in a point cloud. You see, I can just go in here and I can just click insert and browse out to where the point cloud scan files are, and they're immense files. There are hundreds of thousands of scan points that are taken with any kind of a laser scanner or a photogrammetric scanner like Matterport. But I bring them in and they come in. All right? And what it does is by bringing them in this way, BricsCAD is going to automatically put the scan into its native geosynchronous location, meaning that when I go in, I measure coordinates and locations, and I drop it onto a plan in any kind of a civil site plan kind of condition that's set to a specific geolocation. Everything's going to come in exactly where it exists in the real world, right? So it's great for verification and checking offsets and lines and boundaries and so on. But the problem that we all run into when we are dealing with scan data, right? We want to be able to look at certain areas. We want to be able to kind of verify what's going on with the existing conditions, and we don't necessarily want to take the time to draft it when we're in the construction side of things. And this is great, right? Because you notice when I go in here, I can zoom in. You can kind of start to see all the point data. You see that I can even see, right, the grass and the shrubs and the flowers on the front porch, but it's kind of ghosted, right? The points are so fine, right? And there's so many of them. You see, I can kind of almost see, like in this invisible, I can see into the areas inside the house. One of the things that we can do is we can just go in and we can adjust the point size, right? Either decrease or increase it. So if I increase it, it's going to become a little bit denser. The points are going to be a little bit bigger, and my visualization becomes a little bit clean. There you go. So now you see I'm outside and I can start seeing the outside, right? And I can kind of keep going with that. I can just keep increasing the point size if it's still not, dense enough for what I'm trying to do. Right, there you go. Now I can really start to see more of the outside, right? Or if I liked it the way it was, I can just go back and decrease it. So it's just kind of like a toggle, up and down to kind of help me, set up and manipulate, so that the visualization, sorry, I couldn't get that word out, are what I want them to be. Now, the other thing that's really nice about working with BricsCAD is that, number one, when I imported this was probably like a 600,000 point scan. I don't have 600,000 points on here. I really would have to go in and get into my, display and settings to bring in like every last available point. BricsCAD automatically strips it down to a reasonable number of points that will show the visualization. It's got an AI built in that handles it, right? And for the construction world, it's absolutely perfect. Now, the other things that I can do here, right, is that I can make this even smaller, faster, and tighter if there are only specific areas that I want to view. So maybe I want to focus on just the porch, right? That's where I can go in. I can go to the crop tool, and I can crop in any number of different shapes. I'm just going to use a basic rectangular crop and say, look, I'm just going to kind of draw a rectangle around that area. That's the area that I need to focus on right now. And it asks me, do I want to delete the points inside or, hold on to the points inside or outside? All right, so I'm just going to go inside, saying I want to keep the points inside. All right, and you see that it's removed all of the other point cloud data, right? And that I can easily now go in. It becomes much easier for me to pan and zoom and take a closer look at all of the details of what the existing conditions are, right? And now I can go in, right, and I can pan around and zoom that, and I can undo that, or I can actually go back in, right, and I can just do it, remove from the point cloud, right? I'm just going to kind of undo it just because it's a little bit easier, right? So there you go. So I just undo that, and it brings me back to my base point cloud data. And that's great. So I can simplify this very, very quickly. The other thing that I can do, and this is strictly a BricsCAD. I haven't seen this in any other CAD system, and I really like this. One of the things, right now we're looking at the exterior of the point cloud scan, which is good if that's all you're interested in. But what about inside, right? We scanned this whole house from top to bottom, attic, floors, basement, garage, everything. I want to be able to see what's going on inside the house, and that's always a struggle. The great thing is that here with BricsCAD, what we can do, you can see that what I've done here is I've got a box, just a 3D solid box. And really you can just use the, in BricsCAD I can just draw a box command, and you see that I can just basically draw an outline and then a space, and that's all I did. I just drew this 3D box. Now what's great about this is that when I go in here on the box, right, what I can do is I can tell it I want you to focus on selecting the face of a box. So now when I just hover my mouse over, you see that it'll actually go in, and you see how it kind of highlights in orange that face. And then what I can do is I can use my quad to use this push pull. So you see that now I can just kind of push. You can see the outline of the box moving in and out. I can move it inside. Basically what I'm doing is I'm creating a cutting plane where I say, look, I need to cut the box back to around there. And then I just click, and you see that what it's done for me, right? And I'm going to turn off my selection of faces, is that now I can actually see inside the house, right? And I can rotate it around and zoom in and out. And again, I can go back and, if it's not clear enough, if there's too many points, right? I can adjust the point size to make it a little bit more, visible and functional for what I'm trying to see inside, right? And I can always just go back and turn on the face again, right? And you see that I can, again, just kind of rotate around a little bit so you can see from the angle. I can just push, so if I went in too far, you see now I can pull it back out a little further. So no, I wanted to come out a few more feet. I need to come out 10 feet further than that. And I can just select, and now you see it's got the cut through the rooms and the closets, right, and the furniture. Right? And there are even tools in here that get a little bit more where I can isolate furniture and create layers and controls. A little bit more than most of you guys are going to want to do. But in terms of being able to just visualize and verify, right, what's the distance from that wall to the center of the room where the pendant light is hanging, right? I can easily do that in the existing just by measuring and doing basic controls using the point cloud data. It's also a great way to verify that the existing conditions that have been laid out by the architect, excuse me, the architect or the engineer are where they're supposed to be, that they do line up with the scan. Is going to make your life a lot easier down the road, right? When you get out there in the field and start seeing that, hey, they're like 8 inches off, right? Where they have this laid out, this wall is nowhere near where the scan says it is, because the scans are always going to be a lot more accurate. They can be accurate up to 1/8 of an inch depending on where things were taken and how it was shot. Right? So it really is that simple, right? Just being able to use these very, very simple basic tools for importing a point cloud, adjusting the display, cropping out data that you don't need, and then just using this simple box to be able to slide in, right, from any side, right, to handle, cutting and slicing. You see I can even do multiple sides so that I can now go in and shift and rotate and show everything that I need, right? And that's the kind of stuff that you can do, right, with BricsCAD. Sorry, I hit the wrong button there and got kind of a weird pan, right? But now you see I can see my stairwell and everything that's going on in there, right? And that's the kind of stuff that we like to show you guys, and what we mean when we say that BricsCAD has really been very well thought out and heavily adapted for use in the construction world for real world processes.